Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're all here today. Um, I don't know how things are where you live, but there's a lot of optimism flowing around here in the Seattle area today and lately. I just saw news this morning come across a text that said our sunset is pushed all the way back to 6 p.m. this week. That from not too long ago being 4:30 p.m. Means things are getting a lot lighter around here. And then in an amazing 11 days, our sunset goes from 6 p.m. now to 7 p.m. I don't know how it does that in 11 days, but we end up getting these days just stretching out for us, and it's really good news as our long dark winter is now, finally breaking for us. In addition, we got the vaccine rollout steaming ahead. We opened it up for teachers here in Washington. My wife got an appointment yesterday, and amazingly, not in 2 to 3 weeks, but actually for this Friday. So we're really excited about that. We're getting things really rolling here. So really good news around these parts, and I hope here today. I'm glad you could join us here. We've got some good news for you here as well. We're going to be talking about cloud migration and just all the benefits that can bring to you, as well as how we're positioned to help you make that an easy journey. So let's move to the ground rules. So just want to let everybody know that for today's presentation, we've got a panel of presenters ready to give you some really good information directly from the front lines of on cloud migration. And we'll, as the presentation is going on, please feel free to lob questions in via the chat. And we'll stack those up, and at the end of this presentation, we're going to leave some time to get into some Q&A for you. So we're going to go to the next. Yeah, here we go. So we're in addition, I wanted to let everybody know that we will be recording this webinar. So we'll have it available recorded, and we'll send that link out to you. You can share it with others that weren't able to attend as well. If we get and so we'll share additional information, and certainly we'll follow up with you on any questions you might have too, that if we're not able to get to those at the end of this session. Let's get on with it. So let's talk a little bit about our journey. PTG, just a little bit of background on us. We started back in 2006, I'm sorry, and with a focus on enterprise PeopleSoft implementations and upgrades. That practice we built as we became prime vendor for Stanford University, Weyerhaeuser, Amazon, and others. And as our cloud skills have expanded, we've begun migrating systems to the cloud for our customers and creating cloud-based data lakes for customers like Expedia along the way. Made some key acquisitions along the way as well with the Ramp Group, specializing in user interface design and implementation. And then CodeSmart, which focuses on our government customers, along with Firesoft, who are specialists in infrastructure and data center operations. So these have added to our skill sets and expanded, our ability to assist our customers in taking their ideas from all the way from conception all the way through to implementation. So that's where we are today. Let's look quick snapshot of us as well. You want to go forward? So a little bit about just our size. We're about 2,000 employees strong across India and the U.S. And our software may run in the car that you drive. We build applications that run on the center stack as well as on the cluster displays behind the steering wheel. For our customers, and that software shipping in more than 14 million cars. You may see it as well in cars of the future as we're developing systems right now that'll bring 3D into the vehicle, into vehicles like the upcoming Hummer EV coming out this year, which is a really exciting machine. But we get our work with our customs and our value systems that we bring into our clients is what really engenders long-term relationships with our customers. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation today. So, for instance, there's just a few of our customers. I mentioned Stanford earlier. Stanford and Weyerhaeuser, two of our earlier customers, have been with us now for more than a dozen years. So we find a way to deliver value and keep supporting our customers and doing the things that they need to have done, at that moment in time. 6 years ago or so, we were working with Stanford to make sure all of their student and faculty systems were accessible by web, that mobilely they could get to everything they needed, as they realized at Stanford that their students were all walking around campus with a phone out in front of them. So those are just examples of the kind of things as things evolve. We evolve with our customer. Now we're helping them move some of their technologies to the cloud and looking at expanding on that. As well, we've been working with Amazon directly and Microsoft internally for over a decade now. At Amazon, we help them with their HR systems. They've got PeopleSoft as a core. And we use that system and we help them manage that system and extend it to do all the things that they want it to do. We've also helped them implement things like time and attendance across the globe for all of their global data centers and fulfillment centers. And as well, we do similar things at Microsoft, where we help them both internally and with some of their product teams. So these long-term relationships we develop are really the key to what we do and what we seek to do with our customers. So let's go on, and I'll give you a quick introduction to the folks that are here today for you. I'm a managing partner and chief strategy officer at PeopleTech. I'm here today not only to MC this event and kick it off, but also to chime in as we get to some of our case studies that I've been involved in client management for, and tell you about some of the things that I've seen, firsthand out there in the field. We've also got Jagadish Sankar. He's a director in our cloud and infrastructure team. He'll be joining us later in the presentation, and he'll be really focused on walking us through how you can migrate to the cloud and how we can assist you in doing that. But we'll start out with Sudhakar Lanka. Sudhakar is a senior director in our enterprise applications group. He'll get into the why. Why is now the time to migrate your ERP systems to the cloud? So with that, Sudhakar, take it away.
Thank you, Bob. Before I begin, I'm just glad that the dark winter is coming to sunset slowly. It's been a horrible time with the pandemic setting in. And good morning and good afternoon, and I welcome you all wherever you are. So before I begin, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking out time from your busy schedules to attend this event. So let's go into the current statistics. So before we get into the crux of cloud and the migration nuances, I just wanted you to walk you through the current market statistics and where we stand in terms of clients across the globe adopting cloud as their infrastructure and platform as a service, and ultimately software as a service platform. So per Gartner, as you can see, there are more than by 2024 we'll have 45% of the organizations globally moving into cloud or adopting cloud and doing away with their their traditional data centers outsourcing. And if you can look at the geographic spread, you would notice that most of the Asian, Middle East and South Asian countries have already adopted it and have actually moved into cloud. And following suit is obviously North Americas and Europe, the one in yellow. Now, in 2020, the cloud migration services market was valued at 120 billion, and by 2026, it is expected to reach around 450 billion, with a 28.86 CAGR. So that's a huge shift from a traditional data center, on-premise, applications, onto some of the major cloud platforms. Now, since we're talking about PeopleSoft, Oracle's research suggests that businesses are, can slash their budgets up to 38%, which means if you adopt cloud and if you move your workloads to cloud, you would save 38% of your cost in the long run, which is your ROI. And we'll talk about scalability, flexibility of cloud platforms as we go into the into this session. But what I wanted to highlight was that all organizations of all sizes and industries can adopt this. So with having said that, let's move on to the next one. All right. So, first and foremost question which every organization faces today, or you would want to ask yourself, is, why do I need to move to cloud, right? So we have, structured this into 4 major parameters, as you can see on the screens. Now, as you know, PeopleSoft is the foundational system of any organization, which means it's a back office operation, and you don't want to spend a lot of money because your businesses are different. You'd obviously want to spend more money on scaling your business critical applications rather than looking at your foundational system, and you'd want to ensure that that you gain better performance and improve cost savings. And as you all know that every organization goes through an AIP, which is annual investment program, where budgets are distributed for operational maintenance, which is basically very low, and then the majority of them goes into capital projects to improve your market edge. So the first question is your is PeopleSoft or your application is giving you optimal performance, or does it improve your cost savings? So that's the first question to ask, right? The next question is the application unable to easily scale? So when I say this, what I mean is in order to be competitive in the market and have a good business edge, you may want to acquire some companies, or also merge. So when you do that, you're looking at adding users, or when you're trying to do a bulk hire, and you want to create instances on the fly. So is your current system giving you that flexibility and scalability, right? So that's the next question to ask. And then the third one is, do you spend a lot of efforts and manual hours on maintaining your system and performing some core administrative activities? So that's the third question to ask. And the fourth one is, when you want to implement some of the institutional reforms, or you want to, for example, global mobility, or you want to add an additional module and improve employee efficiency, effectiveness. So does your hardware support it? Is it causing a hindrance? Has it deprecated in the sense that do you need to upgrade that? So all these questions needs to be asked. So if your answer is yes, then yes, you would want to move to cloud. So let's go into the next one. Why PeopleSoft on cloud? Very simple. As I've already covered, that you want to improve your overall business operational efficiency. What that means is it'll improve your service levels, streamline external and internal interactions at a quicker turnaround time. So, if you move to cloud, that's what you're going to get. The second one is scalability. When I say scalability, it means that users can sign up and use cloud apps in seconds or just in a few minutes, depending on the app and data size. So, you can quickly and easily be able to deploy, more and more functionality, on cloud. The third one is agility, and what this tells us is a cloud computing strategy largely drives business agility by expediting the time to market, which means you can, deploy your applications much quicker. You can deliver projects that are critical for your revenue growth, and you can automate, in terms of provisioning and deprovisioning and redeploying resources, as per your needs, and at will. The fourth one is technology obsolescence. So obviously, when you want to upgrade or implement new modules, most of the times you're hindered with your servers, which is basically sits on Linux or Windows, or databases which have become obsolete, and you need to spend enormous amount of money and effort to upgrade them before you actually implement what you're supposed to implement to improve your organization's performance. So that is something which you can do away with, which means you can do it with all your infrastructure if you move to cloud, because all the cloud platforms takes care of your infrastructure automatically. The fourth point is enhanced data security. Most of the organizations have a concern, with regards to, is my data secure? If I move my HCM, PeopleSoft HCM onto cloud, can I ensure that all my personal identifiable information like social security, driver's license number, and all that has to do with an employee's data, is it secure or not? And the answer is yes, because most of the cloud platforms have an encryption methodology, which they implement, which takes care of your data security. If you move your applications to cloud, you can obviously reduce IT overheads. What that means is that you can do it with your data centers, you can do it with your staff, and which will save you cost on maintenance and upgrading your infrastructure. The seventh point is, can I do automated PeopleSoft upgrades? Now, this is very specific to OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. The other platforms you can obviously upgrade and apply your PUM updates, as and when they come in. But with OCI, there are automated tools which will help you upgrade much faster than other cloud platforms. But you can still do them in the on Azure or on AWS or even on GCP. Right. The final question is, do I get full control of your PeopleSoft environment? Yes, you do. You can deploy your own resources. You can maintain it. You can add additional functionality. You can treat it as any other PaaS an application. You can keep your customizations there. So you have complete control on your PeopleSoft application. So now, what do you gain when you move to cloud? You get enhanced status monitoring. Now, a lot of companies spend a lot of money, or which is basically manual, in terms of monitoring their environments to ensure that their systems are healthy. But when you move to cloud, there are tools which will proactively raise alarms if your system is running short of memory or is going out of resources, and then you can automatically add how much you want. So everything's automated there. You can eliminate managing complex infrastructure, which is basically, if you move to cloud, you can do it with your data centers. You don't have to maintain them. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to, pay for your IT, maintenance staff. You can save time on troubleshooting your apps and systems. And you can also, what that means is that you can focus mainly on the most important aspects and functions of your business. If you move to cloud, you can deploy your applications much quicker than what you do on premise, because if you have to add additional instances, first you have to check, do you have enough space, enough memory? Will the CPU take care of additional instances? But with cloud, everything is taken care of automatically. Then the most important factor is, do I get a DR? Can I recover my production if my production goes down? And how many DR sites do I get? And everything is available on all cloud platforms. And they give you key metric logging, which means your backup and recovery is much faster and quicker. And it's absolutely seamless. And if something goes wrong, your DR system will come automatically back up within no time. I've touched upon reduced data centers. You can completely do it with that, so I'll not go again. I'll not touch base on that point. And then obviously, as I said at the beginning of my, when we talk about the current statistics, market trends, you can save on your operational costs by close to 38%. So that's what you gain when you actually move to cloud. So with that, I would like to let's go to what we are as a PeopleSoft practice. Now we provide typically the entire 360-degree spectrum of services which any PeopleSoft service provider provides, which means we provide static services, we do implementation, upgrades. Obviously, implementations have gone down today. We have moved a lot of customers, or in the process of moving customers to cloud. We do assessments, we draw a roadmap for you. We do 24/7 support, and we have a good team which would advise, which serves as an advisory services. And if you look at our experience, as Bob already touched upon, we've started as a PeopleSoft shop way back in 2006, and we have some very big clientele, in our portfolio. So having said that, I will, pass on the baton to my colleague Jagdish, who's going to walk you through a cloud migration approach.
Sure. Thanks, Sudhakar. Hello, and all. Thanks for joining. So let's kind of talk through how your cloud migration approach looks for migrating your PeopleSoft workload to cloud, right? So if you look at the slide on the top, there are multiple phases that you guys would go through. Now let's look at what it is going to be relevant in a PeopleSoft context. So the first one is on the strategy and portfolio assessment. So this is where most customers would start, because this is not just a PeopleSoft upgrade, it is a PeopleSoft migration to cloud. So there are a lot of advantages that you can get. So this stage is pretty much a key stage where you would look at your business objectives, your overall IT strategy, you look at your application portfolio, and you will also analyze your cloud migration strategy for an organization as a whole. And you would kind of come up with the use case on, okay, what's the objective and what we are driving as part of this cloud migration. Now, the second stage is where you would do a detailed assessment. So this is where you would look at your existing infrastructure, you would collect data from your various tools, you understand the risks and complexities involved, you do a technical validation, and then you also look at what applications you really wanted to move to cloud versus what you may probably want to retire. So all those kind of happens in the assessment stage. And you also look at your stakeholders, so you talk to them, understand where things are moving, and then based on that stakeholder interview, you can really come up with a good approach and you will know where you are and where you wanted to go. So once you are done with that stage, the second phase is where you look at design and planning. So in this stage, you look at your transformation roadmap on, okay, now let's say you have multiple PeopleSoft instances. So let's talk about what one should go first. What does the roadmap look like? What are the target architecture and how it is going to change? Is it going to be a like-for-like migration, or should we consider re-architecting on the cloud? We look at your DevOps process and how that's going to be in line when you move to cloud. Is there any change that needs to happen? And we identify who needs to do what. And then we also look at the change management on how your organization is going to manage change when you migrate your workloads to cloud, right? Now, we're done the designing phase. We know we're also done the planning on a high level. Then the next step is obviously to test the water, right? So that's the proof of concept stage where you would migrate one of your non-critical workload to the cloud and see how the transformation goes through. Usually our customers start with a dev instance where they would just move the dev instances to cloud, and then they would validate the process. So that comes to POC, and we take the learnings from POC, and then we go back and mature the planning stage side of things. And then once you're done with that, now let's talk about what happens in a migration and transformation stage. In migration stage, you do have a couple of options. One is either you can just rehost your existing infrastructure directly on the cloud, or you can move a piece of your existing infrastructure to cloud, like keeping your core services and then building your disaster recovery system on the cloud, or you can even look at migrating your whole infrastructure directly to cloud. So that's an option that you have in terms of migration. And you also have opportunities to modernize in terms of re-platforming or re-architecting your existing PeopleSoft instances. So that's an option that you could do. And you can also consider upgrading to a latest version as part of the cloud transformation, moving to cloud. So that's something which pretty much happens on the migration and modernization. Of course, all these are predetermined and designed in the design stage. And what we are doing at this stage in terms of migration is you're actually executing all those on what has been designed and planned. So now let's talk about how the topology changes in cloud. I mean, cloud has been there for quite some time, and it has really matured well. So that also provides a lot of flexibility for you. You can either go for a multi-cloud environment. You can even go for a public cloud, which is with AWS, Oracle, or with Azure. You can have a hybrid setup where certain workload stays on premises, and you can use cloud to extend your on-prem services. So that's something which you can definitely do. And if your organization requires you to be fully on a private cloud setup, that's an option which is available as well. So you have multiple options there in terms of how you could move your workloads and start managing them. Now, let me just talk about the multi-cloud option real quick. So this is something which we have seen with a successful partnership from Oracle and Azure. We see a lot of customers moving their database to Oracle OCI instances, and then customers moving applications to Azure. So all that is possible. It is fully supported by both Microsoft and Oracle, and there is a tight partnership, and we can even have those connections set up between multiple cloud instances as well. So I would say take advantage of those flexibilities and support that the cloud service providers are giving you. All right, so let's look at the service model. Things pretty much are going to be in line with what you guys are currently doing, but there will be a slight change in how you would operate on cloud in terms of how you build PeopleSoft workloads and how do you take your testing approach, how do you deploy and monitor them, and the key piece is the governance and security around it. So that's something which can be tightly built, and you can start managing them on the cloud. Now, once we have all these workloads migrated and we have the governance in place on the cloud, then the next stage is obviously to kind of do the cutover and plan for business continuity. And once you're fully on cloud, so that's something which you should probably consider, the business continuity side of things as well as the operation side of things. And the key is you also need to get your team prepared to manage the instances on the cloud. So there is a little bit of a learning curve, but it is not as complex as most people think, right? And once you're fully on cloud, of course, we'll go back and decommission your on-prem infrastructure. Then it is more on the management side of things. So this is where it is really going to be adding value, right? So you went through the journey of moving to cloud. Now you're on cloud. You have a lot of possibilities here, and you can really go through and look at optimizing cost on the cloud. You can look at automations. You can also look at integrating third-party applications that are natively available in cloud, and you can take the full advantage of moving to cloud on this specific stage. So now let's move on and let's talk about some of those migration tools. So PeopleSoft offers, or Oracle offers PeopleSoft Cloud Manager. So this is a tool that we would pretty much use for a lift and shift migration approach to cloud. And pretty much this is, and we also have specific tools that we would be leveraging in terms of migrating to cloud. If it is not PeopleSoft, then not Oracle, then for Azure and AWS, we got our own tools to help you with those migration approach. Now, let's talk through the value proposition. All right. So now this is pretty much key here. How do we engage with you, right? I'm sure this webinar is to talk about a zero-cost cloud migration. So let's see how do we engage with you, and then we look at what that zero-cost migration looks like. So to talk about the first step, we always work with our customers and we invest in assessing and understanding their environment. And then we build a detailed roadmap, as we just talked about, and we have a strategy for a cloud migration. And then we would initially invest with our customers to do a POC to show the commitment. And we also show them how it could be operating on a cloud. And we often bring in our solution accelerators and our IP, which would help fast track some of these migrations up to 30%. So that's something which we add, we bring to the table as well. Some of our customers, we definitely have a long-lasting relationship with Stanford. We are engaged with them for more than 8 years. And with Harvard University, we're engaged with them for more than 5 years. And just to name some of those two top cloud providers, Amazon and Microsoft, we are engaged with them for more than 10 years and 15 years respectively. So, and we know exactly what we are doing, and we also bring in our experience working with these customers, and that's something which we would add value there. Now let's talk about the delivery of the project. We jointly execute projects with your technical team, and we work with your technical team to transfer the knowledge to them. And once the knowledge transfer is pretty much complete, and then we are there to support you until you guys need us. Now let's talk about the zero-cost cloud migration. So it starts with pre-assessment, or before even get into that, let me just tell you why we are doing this, right? We see a lot of traction for customers moving to cloud, and the customers are moving, but they see some challenge in terms of making the right decision and also overcome the initial hurdle on how it would look like, right? So that's the specific reason we have put together this offering, and we are driving cloud migrations for a lot of our customers. The first step is it starts with the assessment and advisory. So that's something which we would be absorbing the cost. It's free for our customers. We work with you and your team for a week, and then we come up with a detailed assessment there. So that's on the first one. And we also migrate up to 1 production and 2 non-production systems to your cloud for free. So meaning we would absorb all the cost for migrating your workloads to cloud. So that's 1 production system and 2 non-production instances you can move to cloud with PeopleTech. Now, to make those processes even simpler, if you had plans to do a POC and run a specific non-prod environment on the cloud, we'll definitely support you there as well. We'll observe the cost for non-prod data usage. We can spin up some cloud instances, and we can share it with you, and we can move or do a POC and migrate those workloads to the cloud, and you don't have to worry about the cost of consumption as well as the cost of migration. So that's something which we are investing as a company. And that offer is applicable for up to 6 months. So you can still migrate to cloud run your PeopleSoft instances in cloud, see how that goes for up to 6 months, and we would be supporting you for that. Now, we are a CSP as well, so we have an option for providing a discounted pricing. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And we will also be providing you with a 1-month managed services support as a warranty, because we are migrating a system and we'll be there for you to support until your team needs. But 1 month of warranty support is included as part of the specific offer that we are providing. And on top of this, we also take care of the 24/7 infrastructure support for your PeopleSoft workloads. So that's something which we do. And I would really say just start with your assessment and then let's move on. Now, let's talk about CSP, which is Cloud Services Provider. This is nothing but a different way of procuring cloud consumption. So either you can go through your regular route of enterprise agreement with Microsoft to buy cloud services, or you can partner with CSP partners, and Microsoft recommends people to work with CSP partner because you get an flexibility of adding and removing licenses. You don't have the upfront cost to purchase all these cloud consumptions in one go. You can pay monthly, and this also comes with advanced support from partner like PeopleTech. And since we are a CSP, there are often programs that run on CSP which might give you a discounted price on your cloud consumption cost. So overall, net-net, it is still the same cloud, but working with a partner gives you the flexibility of paying monthly and not paying all upfront. You get the advanced support and you also get the discounts. Now, let's quickly chime in, and Sudhakar, why don't you talk about some of those successful case studies and how we helped customers implement some of those cloud migrations and how we ended up supporting them.
Sure. Thanks, Jagdish, for a wonderful insight. I can see one of our esteemed audience, in this webinar asking a question that do we help migrate PeopleSoft workloads to AWS? The answer is yes, and and this case study, which is up on your screen, talks about precisely that. So TriNet, as we all know, is one of the payroll processing company, and they bought us to help them support their entire PeopleSoft landscape. They had PeopleSoft HR and finance and supply chain, and we were engaged with them to provide application support, testing, integration services, as well as any application enhancements which they were undertaking to support their customer base. Now, during this process, as you can see, the scope of this engagement was they had 26 different applications sitting on as many individual Oracle databases, which was consuming a lot of resources, which was obviously adding to their costs. So we decided that why don't we, as a proof of concept, move their dev and test instances onto cloud, because these two instances actually helped them with a lot of enhancements, and they need resources from an infrastructure perspective. For example, adding creating Oracle databases, adding more memory and space, modifying the kernel parameters on the Linux boxes, and obviously this was adding to the infrastructure cost. So as a solution, what we did was, since we are AWS Tier 2 partners, we leveraged that partnership with Amazon, and then we shipped a copy of production right on their S3 drive. I'm not too sure if you guys know about S3. S3 is basically a bucket. It's a storage space, which where you can keep all your files. And we put the copy of production and build the dev and test instances, on AWS. And what that meant was that any infrastructure resources which needed more instances to be created was an auto scaling on with the Amazon tools, and this reduced the cost of ownership as well. So this helped them do it with some of the infra on-prem, as well as deprecate and decommission the databases and use that those resources for other applications, in the data centers. And as we wanted to move forward, we also wanted to move the production instance onto AWS, but we just wanted to observe how the performance is on their non-production instances, and they found it to be good. But after that, they decided this is not the right time to move production to AWS, and they wanted to do it at a later point in time. So this is a classic case study. I will go through the architecture, which is the next slide. As you can see, as many of you know, PeopleSoft is logical or has a physical fleet architecture, which means you have application servers, web servers, database servers, and process schedulers sitting on multiple boxes if it is physical. And if it's logical, then everything sits on one single box. So as you can see in the architecture diagram, we put everything, all the components of the PeopleSoft internet architecture onto AWS cloud, and that consisted of Apache Tomcat servers, your Oracle WebLogic, WebLogic, which actually helps in transmitting the data from the web server using Jolt onto the application server, and you can see the Oracle database sitting right in the middle, HCM PeopleSoft instance. So we practically moved all the components onto AWS. So this is just a graphical representation, just to tell you as to everything was sitting on AWS as such. So we'll move on to the next one. So next one is the Harvard University case study. Now, Harvard University, as you know, as Bob has already pointed out, during the intro session, that this is one of our marquee customers, and we've been servicing them since 2015. And they have a huge, installation of PeopleSoft HR, finance, supply chain, and also Banner, which is a campus solution, back office or front office operation application. And we've been supporting them with a lot of the regular production support, as well as any enhancements since 2015 till date. And we're pretty much adept with the data. And they decided just recently last year that they want to move to Workday Cloud, or move to SaaS, and it's a huge, large transformation in a program which they're undergoing currently, which actually entails complete OCM, which is organizational change management. And since we've been closely engaged with them, we were asked to do data conversion, translation, transformation for them. And the scope obviously is HR and finance for the initial 2 years, and then they want to move to Workday Academic Foundation and sometime in 2024. We deployed our own data conversion tool. We did the extraction, translation. We converted more than 1 million rows, and also did a lot of data cleanup at source, and then moved it onto Workday Cloud. So what this meant to them was they could reduce a lot of time and effort, in terms of carrying out data conversion, because that's a very critical phase of any transformation. And data is important to the end users, and obviously to the staff. So we fast tracked that. And we improved data quality, because it was we did data cleanup at source, and we converted 3 years of historical data. Right? This is what we're doing with Harvard, and it is ongoing. And we also presented a data lake architecture, which what this tells you is that they couldn't move their entire 10 years of historical data. They're only moving 3 years, and due to compliance, they wanted to move the remaining data, onto cloud. And we have a typical data lake architecture, or a tool which we have built, we showed them a demo, and this can extract data from, as you can see, from any legacy system or any disparate system, not only from PeopleSoft, but from the CRM application, from Banner, and from other sources. And then it can churn the data and build data marts, and through that we can extract some of the analytics, as you can see, prescriptive, predictive, as well as operational reports. And having said that, I'll just request Bob to walk you through Walter's Kluwer's case study, please. Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Sudhakar. Appreciate that. Just quick introduction of Wolters Kluwer. If you haven't heard of them, they're a $5 billion global information publishing house based out of Denmark. And they brought us in through their healthcare division to help them migrate their flagship product, Ovid, to the cloud. They had an aging infrastructure that included Solaris-based systems, Sun hardware, Oracle databases, just a lot of different things have been bolted on over the years. And their current platform was really difficult to manage, with data centers in the US serving US customers, and in the UK serving European customers, and then and Asian customers. And at the same time acting as a active failover site for their customers worldwide. Over 100,000 of users worldwide. So it was a complex environment. And they, to manage those applications and data, they had a lot of manual procedures that fewer and fewer people in the company understood. As subject matter experts retired or left the company, it was getting harder and harder for them to maintain what they had and keep it up and running to meet their user needs. Plus, they had burgeoning demand in Asia, and they were serving it primarily out of the UK. So performance was taking a hit, and they needed to look at that as well. So we worked closely with the SMEs that did remain as a core group, who really knew the applications, the configurations, and of those applications, etc. And we inventoried over 70 different components, and then helped them to migrate that code and test it on the new platform. As part of this project, we brought in DevOps automation to automatically compile, configure, deploy, and test the migrated applications, including creating over 600 new test cases. And I think there are over 1,000 cases now. Can you go to the next slide, please? So the results were really dramatic, saving them over $1.5 million annually. While very importantly improving performance by 75% on their key transactions. As a Gartner analyst, Daniel Bowers, extolled, with this project, we kind of hit the trifecta, not only migrating their applications and data to a modern supported OS in the cloud, but also deploying it to multiple regions in the cloud. We implemented in this was in the US as well as Dublin, Ireland, and bringing in full DevOps automation for both the deployment, the configuring of the boxes and infrastructure, as well as compiling, deploying and configuring and testing the applications. So now they have a modern CI/CD pipeline that they can innovate on and keep their applications, enhance their applications for their users as they go forward. So a big success there. Can you go to the next? So just want to take a minute to say, tell you a little bit about, some of the advantages then of migrating to the cloud that aren't the direct advantages of actually, that system moving to the cloud. But, as you kind of saw with Howard University example, as you move from that CapEx model to that OpEx model of computing, you get that advantage, but you also now have other innate benefits of being on the cloud. Right, you can now, for example, get at your data much more easily to do in consolidated fashion in a data lake, where you can start applying advanced analytics and predictive machine learning algorithms to do things like attack student retention problems in higher ed, or analyze the probability of grant awards. You can look at in retail, creating better demand forecasts that obviously have ripple effects through your business if you're predicting things better. So these are things. This is the power that is now being innovated on the cloud, and that that can be used very cost effectively now once you have your data there, once you're on the cloud. Just as a plug, in fact, we've got a webinar focused on data and analytics in the cloud coming up in the next few weeks, so look for that. Other things that you can do, you can more easily build data archival solutions to meet compliance requirements. You can generate improved reporting solutions, getting the data that people really need, into their hands in a more real-time basis. These are things that are just inherent, value adds in the cloud. So just stepping back to that first step that Jagadish kind of outlined for you, it's the assessment, right? We look at your application portfolio, work with you to identify where the best ROI will be. This work involves working with your existing application support team, the people that know your applications and the various integrations with them, and creating and identifying those move groups that those interconnected applications that you want to move together, right? And then from that, we can create a roadmap for your journey to the cloud in a sequential set of steps you can start going through. And we'll do all of that for no cost. We want you to have a plan that makes sense, that you can start executing on, and that you can be the advocate of, inside your organization. You want to go to the next slide? So what all do you get out of assessment? First, we're gonna tell you what it takes in terms of people and cost to get the migration that you're considering done, and we'll give you a plan that you can really get behind. The plan will certainly outline the benefits of reduced risks. This is a big piece of why cloud is really, really beneficial, right? It takes a lot of risks out of the equation in terms of managing that application going forward. And the scalability that it offers innately as well is there for you once you get to the cloud. So there's just innate benefits that are there. But the assessment then puts you in a position to be that advocate and run a cloud migration project and allow your team, to better serve your customers, right now, while at the same time putting you in a position to leverage the cloud going forward. So modernizing the skills of your folks and the teams that are there today. So with that, I think we'll turn to some of your questions. We've got a little bit of time for that. We can jump right into those and certainly follow up with folks on any questions that we're not able to get to. But I wanted to start out with a question for you, Sudhakar. What workloads do you find are best to move to the cloud?
You can virtually practically move any full stack production, non-production instances, the DR, the backup, archival, and read-only databases, etc. Of any nature or any kind. So it doesn't matter. You can move the entire stack onto any cloud platform for that matter.
Good. And then a specific question that kind of came in as we were talking. When migrating PeopleSoft to the cloud, what are the database migration options?
So PeopleSoft usually has very typical database types. For example, Oracle obviously is very prominent. Then you have Microsoft SQL Server, DB2 from IBM. So you can virtually move any database onto any cloud platform with your existing licenses. It's got bring your own license, BYOL is a term used very prominently in the cloud world. So you can keep your licenses, just move it as is onto any of the cloud platforms. But
okay, good. So is it possible to integrate your data in the cloud with other systems that are on-premise or other third-party systems? And what if I have data that must stay on-premise? Do I, for regulatory compliance or other reasons like that, what are my options?
So there are as Jagadish explained, there are different topologies which you can adopt. If you're talking about integrating data on cloud with other on-premise system or a third-party application, you can probably go with a hybrid cloud, or you can choose a multi-cloud platform where the data is seamlessly integrated. So yes, you can definitely integrate your data across across cloud platforms as well as on-premise using the hybrid model. And if you want to, Susan, your next question was, what is the? I'm sorry, what is the next question, Bob?
Well, I think you got to, if you did have data that has to remain on premise for regulatory reasons, would you be able to work in, in a hybrid situation like that?
Yes, absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Okay, I think you got that. So for you, Jagadish, how will cost structures change when in the financial flow? How does that change as you move to the cloud?
Sure, Bob. Let me take that question. But before that, I just wanted to add one point to the last question on the compliance. So a lot of these cloud service providers, which is either Oracle, Azure, or AWS, by native, they come with, they meet all those compliance requirements. So, but you get that in cloud out of box. But if there are any specific requirements for your organization, that's something which we can definitely look at that as part of assessment and probably give you a more clear understanding on where we stand in terms of compliance. But by native in cloud, you get a lot of compliance met by default. So now let me answer your question on the cost structure. So I think this is a very good question. So as we all know, with cloud, kind of the budget changes from a capital expenditure to an operational cost. So it is kind of going to be more predictable, and the customers have flexibility on how they can factor in. And of course, as part of the assessment, the key piece here is to understand the costing and optimizing the cost. So that's something which we can predict based on your existing workloads, how that cloud consumption is going to look, or the run rate is going to look on the cloud. So that's something which is key when we do the assessment. Now, apart from that, I think Sudhakar also covered this point on the licensing. BYOL, bring your own license, is available from Oracle. If you're moving to OCI, Oracle supports it. And for Microsoft and AWS, they also support license portability. But just a question of, or a word of caution, we would always recommend you to check with your account manager, Oracle account manager. But Oracle does support porting your on-prem licenses to cloud. So I hope that answers that question.
Good. Well, thank you for that. It looks like we're out of time here today. We really, truly appreciate your attendance, and we hope you got something out of this. We'll certainly, like I said earlier, be sending you a link to this recording for this webinar as well. If there were any questions that we didn't get to, we'll try to round the horn with you. We can certainly set up a separate session to go over any of your specifics as well. The things that triggered for you as we walk through this material. Again, thanks everybody for attending, and have a great rest of your day.
Excellent. Thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for your time, guys.